Sheriff Chris Amison.
Amison, I'm going to SWAT call out. Okay, sir, this Podio, could you do an 85 and a 55? I was going where? Call out. Where we going? SWAT call out right over here.
The officer says he isn't aware of any barricaded suspect in the city.
Here in Lexington? Yeah. We have an armed person, but we don't know about it. All right, I'll call our chief and let him know.
According to the sheriff's office, a bondsman made multiple requests to Lexington police for assistance arresting a former Tulsa police officer, D'Angelo Reyes, who was wanted on rape charges. They wanted backup because they believed he had multiple guns. This is their call for help to Cleveland County.
We foresee having problems with them.
Okay.
Lexington's busy. They won't help. They just told us to go make contact at the house, but this guy has 3 guns.
Back to the body cam, the Lexington officer lets the sheriff go and follows him to the staging area where multiple deputies are located. As they get there, so does Lexington Police Chief Ronnie Johnson, seen in the vest and cowboy hat. Chief Johnson confronts a Cleveland County deputy.
We've realized that I'd like to know what's going on in my own damn city. We would have notified you, sir. We would have? Yeah. Hold on. I've been down there to the PD.
A sheriff's office lieutenant tries to explain the situation to the chief.
Lexington was notified. They refused to respond. Okay, I don't know who the said that. First of all, sir, I know you're the chief. I'm just telling you, I don't appreciate all of this going on and nobody notified me a damn thing about it.
That's when the Cleveland County deputy walks away. But the Lexington officer wearing the body camera isn't done.
You're not going to talk about a chief like that, sir. That's not going to happen.
You can get the out of my face. I don't give a who you are.
Hopefully you guys got to see the difference between the local city police and the sheriff. And I know for a couple seconds my voice cut out. It's just that crazy thing. I'm still having some problems with the audio, guys. Hopefully. See, as soon as I moved the mic, it cut out on me. Anyways, good seeing you guys. Thanks again for joining me. Had a very, very rough day today. I've been in mediations most of the day trying to resolve cases, but my kids did some really cool research because I'm trying to teach them about English and American common law principles, and I try to teach them the history of the law. And so I was trying to explain to them, they're asking me, well, what's the difference between a state trooper? Why isn't a state trooper considered to be superior to a sheriff? Why isn't, what about city police? What's the hierarchy? And, so that tells me that they're starting to think, which is a good thing. So just really quick, let me just look over into the sidebar and thank everyone for showing up. So I know that tonight, originally I wanted to start at 5, but I got pushed off. So I pushed the time back to 6, but you saw that I started at like 5:30. So just keep that in mind that sometimes I will do that because I am a lawyer and I might get trapped in a mediation or a deposition or, get stuck on the phone with a client who's going through hell and they need somebody to talk to. And so I have to do that because as a lawyer, you're not just a lawyer, you're a counselor too. And my clients, one of the reasons why they stay with me is because I spend the additional time to hear what they have to say. My firm philosophy is you're not just a client with us, you're also our friend. So I just think that's kind of cool. So thanks, The Classic One. Thanks for showing up. Christopher, as always, thanks for showing up and listening and having to hear what I have to say and helping me teach my little ones how to become entrepreneurs, because that's part of the deal that I'm doing here to convince my wife to let me do these videos is that I'm teaching the kids how to build a YouTube channel. And so that's good for them. And I'm teaching them how to do shorts and how to use Premiere Pro. I mean, obviously I'm not as good as some of these other guys, but I'm better than most guys, better than most lawyers. That's for sure. So let's take a look. Grateful Dabs, right on. Call me a boomer. Yeah. Carl Bronson, thanks for joining us today. Let's OTVO, thanks again for coming. Hey, Brick Jonesy, super, super stoked to see you, dude. So Brick is like one of the coolest, most loyal guys you'll meet. And I'm super, super happy. I believe that he has someone in his family who is a Marine, I think his dad. So he probably kind of tracks along with me because we recognize that people who went through that basic Marine Corps training are just better people, as a general rule. All right. So, yeah, the classic one. And then, of course, everybody. So, dispensing with all the informalities and formalities. So I found this video, and I think you guys have already seen this. Most people have seen this. This city police chief police going at it with these sheriff deputies. Not even the sheriff, but the chief of a local city, a municipal corporation, decides he doesn't like these deputies being in his backyard. He wants notice. He wants to know what's going on. They're trying to make an apprehension in what he thinks is his turf, right? And so they start going at it with each other, and eventually one of the muni cops approaches one of the deputies. He's like, "Hey man, you don't talk to my man." Almost like they're like a motorcycle club or something, you know? It's like, wow, public servants with our tax dollars acting like children, basically. But your nephew's father, copy that, Brick. Yeah, all right, copy that. Yeah, so Brick had the Marine Corps influence in his family, and trust me, it spreads like a cancer. That do or die. When someone says show up for your meeting at 5:30, that really means 5 o'clock. That just becomes part of your DNA if you grew up like that. Yeah. Hey, Mama Lion. Hey, Mama Lion. Well, I want to know more about the Karen Reed trial, and I wouldn't even be opposed to doing like a lawyer reaction video if you guys think that it could be a teachable moment. The only reason I'm doing this whole sheriff thing is because one of our members in the private chats was asking me, well, what's the deal with sheriffs? Because, we've got, sheriffs are supposedly under common law, they have some kind of a significance. So I talked to my kids and they were like, yeah, what's the deal? Because in California, they don't even have like state troopers like in Nevada and stuff. And so I was like, well, Pete Wilson did away with our state police and basically combined their duties with the California Highway Patrol. So we'll start off doing that. Okay. So here's how it works. So state police are basically like traffic officers, but they're statewide. So they're primarily dealing with freeways, at least in California. They're not really engaged in local law enforcement. Municipal police, which would be the bottom of the barrel. And I'm going to do a slideshow and show you guys in a minute. But municipal police would be more like the bottom of the barrel. They're usually appointed. They work for a municipal corporation, and their turf is limited to a municipality within a county. Now, the sheriff, the Shire Reeve, is an elected official, and their duties go back historically, going all the way back to when we had a king. And originally, their job was to protect the people and enforce the king's edicts, but ultimately with the Magna Carta and other things like the Confirmatum, I don't know if I said it right, but anyways, ultimately the sheriff's job also became to protect the rights of the people. And so in a nutshell, yes, the sheriff is actually the most powerful one of all. And in most states, it's very difficult to get rid of a sheriff. I think only the governor has the power to remove one. But that's another conversation for another time. Now let's see here. Oh yeah. So Brick, his dad's got 22 years in. Right on, dude. 22 years Navy. That's pretty hardcore. I mean, I forgive him for not being a Marine. I'm just kidding. That's just standard operating procedure. Give me a bunch of OTVOs for Chile. I do not have any updates today about Chile. I'm expecting a call probably right around the time this thing starts popping off. I'll probably get a call. But from what I know, he is surviving. He's definitely not thriving, but he's surviving and he's making the best of things that he can. If you get a chance, go take a look at the video I did. I think it was yesterday or the day before on the Delete Laws channel. I get into what's going on with these 900 citizen review board complaints that apparently were just sort of rubber stamped along with the Nevada IA I'm waiting for a call back from some investigative journalists in Nevada to get some additional information. But in the interim, it looks like BZ Watchdog has a green light to pursue at least 900 internal affairs complaints that are now public record if you can get them to grant the public records request. So I am suggesting to BZ, and I'm hoping that with the urging of my audience, that one of you can dig deep or has an investor who can help us potentially start a nonprofit corporation to where we can try and get those records. The downside to getting all these records is the Las Vegas police charge an enormous amount of money, like outrageous to where it's draconian to get some of these records, like body cam footage. So the only thing I can think of is to form a nonprofit. And since none of my members or anyone in my group has had luck getting any help from the Las Vegas ACLU, with many claiming it's because the judge who put Chile in jail is married to their president, it seems like our only option to try to get this information is to form our own nonprofit or loose confederation of investigative journalists to try and gather this data. However, I do invite you to file your own public records requests with Nevada or Las Vegas PD to try and get some of these records from the Citizen Review Board, which many investigative journalists allege are basically rubber stamping the police department's internal affairs complaints. Okay, with that being said, I want to get more into this show about the duties of municipal police and sheriffs and who's going to. You can see that this gentleman right here is a. Oh, yeah, by the way, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button. Now, also, please pay attention in the sidebar. If it looks like my audio is down or whatever, please tell me no sound, no sound, make a scene because I'm still having some audio issues. But let me go ahead and give you the rundown. This individual right here is a sheriff deputy. That means that he is the servant or agent under vicarious liability theory, vicarious liability theory. For all intents and purposes, he is the sheriff. And so there's only one sheriff, however. So when you call deputies sheriffs, you're actually wrong. So when you see those vehicles that say sheriffs and you say, hey, there's the sheriff, no, that's actually a deputy. But for all intents and purposes, he's acting on behalf of his master, the sheriff. And we have a low-level municipal city cop chasing him saying, how dare you talk to my chief like that, right? So you can see that with your own eyes. Now I'm going to go ahead and play the rest of this. I didn't play the very beginning. It's a journalist talking about the event that went down. I did include the link in the description of the video so you could follow. Again, most of the people on my channel have probably already seen this interaction. I'm not presenting this video to try to get a bunch of likes and shares for rehashing an old story. I'm doing this to sort of show you the jurisdictional differences between the two agencies and how they respond and how they act and the historical significance behind what they do. Because I think it's a really teachable moment and nobody is really taken advantage of to educate. They've just used it to try to show, hey, look, a bunch of cops are fighting. But I think this is a really great opportunity to teach you guys a lot more. Hold on one second. Let me just take a look in the sidebar, because unlike most people who just do videos, I like to do lives and engage my audience because I think that's super important. Because sometimes you guys give me some really cool information that helps me become a better lawyer. So let me just take a look. All right, Brick, that sounds good. Sound, no sound, sound now. Good to go. All right. And then Mama Lion, good to go. Yeah, the video is kind of old, BZ. Hey, Kevin, good seeing you, buddy. So it looks like I've got about 11 new contributing like members who have subscribed to my channel as paying members, and I'm really stoked. And I told my kids and showed them, and they were just blown away. They couldn't believe it. Like to them, $4 a month is a lot of money. And yeah, hey man, more power to them. If they, well, I just thought it was really. I just wanted to share that with you guys. How cool that is. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and play the rest of this video for you.
Okay. This is my county too.
Sheriff Amison tries to step in.
Sheriff, you need to back up out of my face, sir. You have no authority.
You're not gonna tell me what to do. You're not gonna get in my sheriff's face, just like you told me.
The sheriff threatens to arrest the officer, and Chief Johnson pulls his officer away.
Both of you need to back off. This is our operation. We're something our county. Understand?
Oh yeah, perfectly clear. Perfectly clear.
Well, the sheriff's office.
Yeah, so so hopefully you guys kind of understood what was going on. We got the two dudes wearing the cowboy hats, but the guy who backed off was the municipal cop, the municipal chief of police, because he's not stupid. He knows the sheriff is the elected representative of that county, and as such, he is the chief law enforcement officer. Now, there are times when the sheriff may be undermanned and they'll deputize city cops, and that'll give them additional authority to act as sheriffs. But other than that, municipal police are going to be restricted to their municipality. And typically they can still be called for an assist and whatnot. But like the problem BZ Watchdog is running into, and I'm trying to help him with, is that the sheriff's deputies are responsible for their jurisdictional area, to enforce their jurisdictional area. And post office, for example, that's a federal enclave. That is federal land. So when an officer from a local municipality or even a sheriff comes onto a federal enclave and they cite you for trespass, in my opinion, as a lawyer with well over almost 2 decades of experience licensed as an attorney, and well over that as a paralegal and law clerk, there is no way. What you've got here is you've got a jurisdictional problem, because in order for the local police or sheriff to enforce a law on a federal property, they have to have some kind of training and they have to have some kind of a contract. Because what's going to happen? Well, if the city starts making a bunch of assists for the county, they're going to incur costs and expenses, and they got to justify that to the city council, the mayor, and all this stuff. So there's a lot that goes on that people don't think about. Most people don't get it. So there's a lot going on. So when you've got these local yahoos coming into the post office doing this, and they don't have any kind of an interagency agreement, they don't even have training to enforce federal law, and they're citing someone for trespassing with a local citation, that is not, in my professional opinion, a valid citation. You can't go on federal property and cite someone for violating a local trespass ordinance. And I would say that's probably why people who get arrested for that will have the filing deputy juggling with those charges for months, trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do. And ultimately, they're going to get thrown out. At least that's been my experience in the past in California. So let me just take a look over in the sidebar, and I'm going to do a slideshow here in a minute to kind of reinforce the differences between municipal police, the history of municipal police. I know that there are some misconceptions that municipal police in the U.S. were created to round up slaves, and that's not really true. It could be deemed partially true if you're a real historian, but we'll get into everything in a minute. Municipal police are basically there to protect the government and protect the politicians. They have no duty to protect individuals, and they never have. And that's why the Supreme Court keeps saying that. And that's why the only people who made it out of the Rodney King riot somewhat okay were the Korean shopkeepers who were armed with standard capacity, semi-automatic, long arms, or AR-15s, if you want to call them that, or AKMS clones. But the bottom line is those are the only people who made it out okay, because the police stood around and didn't do anything. Now, just look in the sidebar, say hello to everybody. All right, Mama Lion, OTVO. You know what? Make sure to smash and hit that like and subscribe button. That like and subscribe button. And let's also give a bunch of ones for chili to free chili. And please, everybody, go to the Delete Laws channel and watch the video that I did the other day exposing the corruption in the Nevada Citizens Review Board, where they were allegedly created because IA was so biased towards the Las Vegas PD that they had to create a Citizens Review Board. And then that Citizens Review Board is basically rubber stamping everything from IA, but they get a lot of tax money. So, $80,000 bloated salaries for doing absolutely nothing. And that's kind of what you get, guys. So government investigating itself. 101. Yeah, right. So, yeah, free chili. I love it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always the 39 or 40 loyalists who come here, and I really do appreciate it that you're joining me today. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get into this with you. So who wins and who's better for you? So we saw the city cop back off, didn't we? We saw the city cop, he backed the city chief police guy. He backed off from the sheriff because the sheriff has authority and jurisdiction over the entire county. Now, when I was growing up, for example, in the city of Villa Park in Orange County, they were policed by sheriffs. Well, why is that? Well, because Villa Park was, although it was the most wealthy city per capita in the United States at the time, and by the way, my family developed about 70% of Villa Park. My dad was a builder. He started out as a ditch digger when he came back from Vietnam and became a very successful custom home builder. But, screwed up from the war. He'd make millions, lose it all, make it again, lose it all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to get too far into that. It was a rough life growing up, I'll tell you that. But the bottom line is Villa Park would lease the sheriff's deputies to patrol their area. Now, the city of Orange down the street, they had their own municipal police. So even though the city of Orange had less money per capita, they still had more people, right? It was a bigger city. They didn't have the big sprawling, spread out everything. By the way, my dad built Somerset Homes in Villa Park along with the GL Lewis Company. If you ever get a chance to look at those mansions, they're drop dead gorgeous. And I grew up working construction, sweeping out buildings and work with the framers and the finished framers, the rough framers. So I got to grow up in construction. That's probably why you guys like me, because I'm not like a normal lawyer. I've actually had a regular job and I still have calluses on my hands because I still lift weights with no gloves. And I still do stuff like tool on my cars with the kids and take the kids to the archery and the gun range and all that. So anyways, I don't want to talk too much about myself, but let's see here. Hey, Kurt Bronson, super happy to see you here today, brother. So let's get into it. Historically, who has more power, the sheriff or the municipal police, and why? And what is the Shire of the Reef? Because we see a lot of the sovereigns, they always talk about the Shire of the Reef, right? And I get it, because they went to a seminar and that's what they heard. So we're going to get into that. And let me see here. And then let's see. Gotta go with the big. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Mama Lion. Well, we love it that you guys hang out. And look, I really do. I used to love watching Chili's channel. And when I first started watching his videos, I was like, that guy is so obnoxious. I don't want to have anything to do with that guy, because I've been taught, you got to be civil and all this stuff. But then I watched a couple more of them. And then after the fourth one, I was literally, dude, we got to meet. So, there's something about rebelliousness and not backing down that's contagious. And when you see people like that and they just won't back down, you want to feed off, you want to be part of that. So give me a bunch of ones if you guys know what I'm talking about. Just that unrelenting, I'm not going to cave to the administrative state. I'm going with natural law. I'm going with the rights my creator gave me, not some loser who works for the government, living off my paycheck, right? Yeah. That's right, Mama Lion. We have to remove the indoctrination from the Rockefeller established public education industrial complex. We need to get rid of all these radical commie left-wing pinkos and get them out of our schools and start teaching our kids classical education 101. Amen, Mama Lion. Now, hey, Jessica, good seeing you too. Looking amazing as usual. That looks like a lake scene. Love the dock. Be careful. You don't want to slip and fall on those nail heads because then I might have to represent you. Got to be careful, Gloria and Jessica. Be super careful. All right. So BZ says he's got dibs. Get out of here, man. She's mine. I called her. I called it first. All right. Hold on. Now, guys, I don't know if you noticed, I haven't been feeling too well the last couple of days. I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold. So just bear with me. I may sound like a freaking doggone receiving barracks drill instructor there, you. But really, it's probably just from yelling at insurance adjusters all day. So let's get into it. So who wins? Who's better for you? Because there's a two-tiered thing we're going to talk about. You got municipal cops. You got sheriffs. We already talked about state police. They work for the governor. Their job is pretty much to provide private security for Gavin screw us all, and to enforce traffic laws statewide. And that's why the CHP in California took over the duties of state police. They were unnecessary, so Pete Wilson got rid of them. Now, so let's move on. So historically, here's how it works. Sheriffs have more power due to their role as elected county officials. And I kind of said that to you in a nutshell at the beginning. So their authority extends over larger geographic areas, entire counties. They oversee the county jails too. And that's why I originally wanted to be a sheriff when I got out of the Marine Corps, a deputy, is because I always felt, talking to my friends who were already deputies, that if you work in the jails, you start to understand the criminals. You learn what their tattoos look like, how they act, how they operate. So that's kind of where I was headed until I started getting into auditing and got beat up by a cop for asking him for his ID before we even had cameras. So that's another story for another day. Now, their authority extends over large geographic areas, and not only do they oversee the jails, but they also execute warrants and stuff like that. So you saw those guys, they were all like in a gaggle, right? Ready to go. And I think they were helping a bail enforcement dude try to get a warrant executed or something, or not a warrant, but try to collect on a bond, I think. Anyways, the bottom line is the sheriff's position dates back to medieval England, and originally they were the king's representative in the shire. So that's where you get the word shire, and that eventually evolved into being sheriff anyways. So they also were responsible for tax collection. And so for all of you people who watch Robin Hood, hey, thanks, Ralph. And see, Ralph knows what's going on. And I love Ralph because he stands up for his principles, and he is a sovereign man upon the land. And I'm not taking that away from him or going to try to call him names or berate him, because the life that he's living is the life of the bravest of the brave. Because in Orwellian fashion, our government is targeting people who believe that our rights come from a creator. Our government is targeting people who believe in the Second Amendment, people who shop at Dick's Sporting Goods or Cabela's. A report just came out on March 4th that clearly identified that the FBI was illegally, for like the umpteenth time, spying on Christians, people who buy Bibles, people who support the Second Amendment, basically white males in particular. And that's in one of my other videos called Can I Sue the FBI for Illegally Labeling Me a Domestic Violent Extremist? But that's all. It's all like, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. So it's always cool having Ralph on here. And it's cool, look, the dude's throwing me $2, Federal Reserve notes, whatever. It's not the money. It's the fact that this dude actually supports me and my family. It gives me an opportunity to come out and just be me. Mike the lawyer, but also Mike, the blue collar Mike, the guy who became a lawyer on this weird program and slept on park benches and worked at a Home Depot at from 3 to midnight, and volunteered to work for lawyers for free so I could become a lawyer. This is the guy you're talking to. So it's super, super, super cool to be able to talk to you and share all this knowledge that I have, because 99% of lawyers are clueless, guys. They know nothing about U.S. history, about the revolution, about our common law heritage, nothing. They don't even know that the original lawyers were trained in the castle that was occupied by the Knights Templars. Unbelievable. They just don't know it. They don't teach us anything in the law school. So municipal police, unlike sheriffs, they only serve within the city limits and are typically appointed officials. Now, sometimes, police chiefs are elected. It just depends on the city. They're all a little bit different. But even if they are elected, they don't have the power of the sheriff. And their primary role is to enforce local ordinances. And then, of course, state laws, like Penal Code Section 148, when you won't bust out your wallet, let them put you in torture cuffs and take you to the dungeon and steal your money, right? That's their job, to enforce laws to raise revenue for the municipal corporation that they work for. Their job is not to protect individuals at all. And we saw that with the Rodney King riots. So repeat after me. The municipal police, as a general rule, have zero duty to protect individuals. U.S. Supreme Court. All right. So Shire of the Reef. Okay, so this is the thing. So a lot of sovereigns are saying it the wrong way. And I'm just telling you as someone who used to live, oh my gosh, Gloria. Thank you, Gloria. This is very kind. So Gloria is a very kind member, and she has always been very kind to support Chile and not judge him for his past or what people say about his past. And I really do appreciate that. And she's very kind. And so she has just gifted a membership, and I don't know who's going to get it, but I'm very grateful. And my kids are very grateful for that. Oh my gosh. And Ralph hit me again with another $2. Okay. Yes. Mike, scroll up, do my comment, the Riley family. Hold on. Stand by, brother. And then I'll get back into the Shire of the Reef. Hold on, brother. I'm sorry, man. You got to understand, I don't see everything. I'm looking. Okay, so it says the sheriff has more power. And look, I'm scrolling, man, but I'm not seeing it. Okay, Ralph, can you copy and paste it again so I can respond to it? Because I'm not seeing the comment, brother. But everybody just understand something. I know that you're used to watching attorney videos where they do a lot of editing and production and they put it in the video section. But I like doing lives because it gives me an opportunity to meet my audience and become friends. And so I like to talk to people in the sidebar because I get a kick out of it when people talk to me, like when I type something and they respond like, hey, Don Shipley, you're the chief, you're the Navy SEAL dude. And he responds back, like as an example, that's motivating to me. So I love that stuff. So let me just get down here and see if he's put it in there. Comment to the Riley family. Okay, so Ralph Riley, what I'm asking for is he said, Mike, scroll up, do my comment, the Riley family. So I did his comment already on this one. And yes, okay, maybe that's what he wants me to expand upon that. So Ralph, I'm getting there right now. It is true that the sheriff, in my opinion, does have more power than the federal government. The problem is when the 14th Amendment was passed by filling the Southern legislatures with unelected representatives in violation of the Constitution and the habeas corpus, a lot of things changed in this country. And remember, appearance of power is 99.99% of power. And so now the whole concept of natural law has been turned on its head. Leviathanic law is what is par for the course in DC and the federal government. The federal government, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't really respect states' rights, especially the rights of sheriffs. And we've seen that happen time and time again. But Ralph is right that under the law, uppercase L, the true law, that the sheriff does have more power than the federal government. But what I want to do is get into the underpinnings of why that is. Oh, look at that. All right, Kevin. So Kevin, looks like Kevin got the new membership. That's badass. And the family Riley were the Shire oh no shit, dude. That is badass. So what Riley's saying is the family Riley were the Shire Reeve, North Central Ireland. That is really badass. So I'm assuming that you mean so that would be Ulster or Belfast, right? That's northern. So you guys were Protestants, I would imagine. And that would be William, the Earl of Orange, who helped you guys get that. Because I don't even think that the real Irish had sheriffs, because they had a different kind of legal system than the English. But I'm definitely excited to learn more. I love hearing stories like that. Like I've had friends who are related to like Thomas Jefferson and President Washington. They can show their lineage, and it's just really cool to look at all the old parchments and all that. All right. So let me keep on going. That is really cool, man. Shire Reeve. All right, and then I'm just kind of looking here. So let's take a look here. The 2A read correctly does not. Yeah. Well, Elric, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, so you can feel free to leave the chat anytime you want. The first of all, the Second Amendment doesn't grant anybody any rights. No bill or anything written by man grants man anything. Our rights come from an all-powerful creator because we believe in natural law, and our Bill of Rights are based upon natural law. And the right to keep and bear arms and the right of self-defense for all free men has been passed on to us under English common law tradition into American common law. It just became much stronger in America because the king consistently and persistently violated all of the agreements that he made in writing to his people, that he wouldn't violate their God-granted rights. And so one of the first things he tried to do was seize the powder houses of the colonists to prevent the colonists from being able to overrun his redcoats. And he underestimated the colonists, and we were better shots than his redcoats ultimately. And we were able to form an alliance with the French. And then ultimately, the disease of freedom, the cancer of freedom, was so pervasive that the French people ended up beheading their own king because they realized that they wanted the same freedom that he was giving us as Americans. And that is the true, unadulterated, brief history of what really happened. So whenever I see some communist Marxist scumbag come into the comments and say, oh, individuals don't have the right to keep and bear arms, that's only for the government, that's nonsense. There were two types of people. There were regular and irregular militia. Your regulars would have been your Continentals. Your irregulars would have been your standard traditional militia that had existed for hundreds, probably over 1,000 years prior to the formation of even the colonies. So there's a whole history behind it. Alan Beck can come on anytime and give you the whole history. I happen to have him with my firm. He's one of the best Second Amendment rights lawyers in the country. So when I hear people say stuff like that, they clearly have no idea what they're talking about. Now, let's move on to Shire of the Reef. The term Shire of the Reef is a misunderstanding and misinterpretation. The correct term is Shire Reeve, and that is where the term sheriff comes from. And in medieval England, a Shire Reeve was the king's official in a shire or county responsible for maintaining law and order and then collecting taxes. And we saw that again with the Robin Hood, right? The Robin Hood movies. So there you go. Now, so BZ Watchdog says that the 2A is a right given to citizens to form a militia to be free. So I understand where you're coming from. So the Second Amendment is a recognition of a pre-existing right. That's all it is. The Second Amendment is a written declaration, a written recognition of a pre-existing God-granted right. That's all it is. And there are many other rights that we have that were not codified into a Bill of Rights. That's what people don't seem to grasp. And this is not a put down, but that's all of our rights were pre-existing. We have pre-existing unalienable rights granted to us by our uppercase C creator. And that's what the founding documents say. So people can try to chastise me and tell me, oh, you're just a crazy Christian, which I'm really not. I'm just a traditionalist. Our rights come from a creator. That means that these idiots in the administrative state don't have the right to take them away. And that's a good thing, because these guys, they don't even have calluses on their hands. Would you really want somebody that's never even worked construction leading your country? Think about that. All right. So anyways, there have been many famous battles between sheriffs and local police. Miranda versus Arizona involved a battle between local police and the county sheriff over an investigation and who had authority to interrogate the suspect. Worcester versus Georgia, an 1832 case, involved a sheriff who opposed local police and state authorities over enforcement of laws within the Cherokee Territory, asserting his jurisdiction instead. And then, of course, we all know about Sheriff Arpaio, right? Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He had all kinds of jurisdictional conflicts with the feds, Obama trying to get him arrested and thrown in jail for civil rights stuff, because Obama was really upset that Arpaio didn't like it that Obama was flooding the country with illegal alien criminals, murderers, and rapists. He had a problem with that. Give me a bunch of ones if you think you'd have a problem with that too, if you were a sheriff. Now, ultimately, that led to a lot of disputes over authority. So in summary, sheriffs are elected countywide jurisdiction officials. Municipal cops are generally appointed, and they just enforce laws within the municipality. And the Shire Reeve is the medieval sheriff responsible for law enforcement and tax collection within the Shire. And modernly, you don't see sheriffs collecting taxes anymore. They'll usually send the marshal to your house to throw all your stuff out in the street when they're taking your stuff. But let me just take a look over into the sidebar here. Yeah, I love it, Gloria. Truth. Yes, that's right. Now, and I don't really care about what Justice Stevens has to say in his dissent in Heller, because I always thought Justice Stevens was just a commie anyways. I never considered him to be a legit constitutionalist, somebody who actually supported America or anything that our founding fathers stood for. He was a leftist, in my opinion, probably a Marxist. So anything that Justice Stevens had to say in his dissent means absolutely nothing to me, buddy, other than just an example of exactly the kind of judges you don't want to have on the bench. Now, what we're going to do now, I normally don't like Time Magazine. I don't normally like for-profit media. I think that they have an agenda. They're being paid by the enemies of the American people. But occasionally you'll find some historical truth. As long as it's not too political, they'll actually, but if it's political, it's always going to be just hardcore, tilted garbage. But sometimes they have some good stuff. And I found this really cool article that I want to share with you. And this is basically how we got our, hey, Ralph, let me just take a look at what Ralph has to say here. So Ralph says, my family are related to the original kings of Ireland. Okay. So I was unaware, Ralph, that the Irish also had Shire Reeves. So that is really interesting to know. So I learned something new every day. And so something that I do want to share with you. If somebody finds that I've made a statement that's incorrect or that's off base or whatever, just come at me and tell me, because I don't want to be a purveyor of bullshit. I want to provide true facts and then have you do your own research. So my goal is to educate you in the history of the law and basic legal principles, and then have you have a toolbox now and enough education to where you can confidently and consistently come up with your own answers. Because what I don't want is for people relying on fact checkers and academia, because they have proven themselves time and time again to be liars and the enemy of the American people. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that academia in the modern college campus is ground zero for the anti-American Marxist communist movement. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that. Now, thank you, Chevy. And he did get his, and you spelled it right. Thank you, brother. And as we know in Swedish, in ancient Swedish, which is what I am as a Swede, is Gunnar means battle warrior. And so I just thought that was just the most badass name. And that was my grandfather's name as well. But he changed the spelling so it would seem more American, because I guess back then it was a really big deal to have an American sounding name. Give me a bunch of ones if you know what I'm talking about. Now, and by the way, I think our original name was like Carlson or Olson. I don't think it was Ehline. They just did anything they could to sound like more English or German or whatever it is that they were doing. But, take a look. In support of bullshit. Hey, Ralph Riley. And Ralph is so cool. And so I'm going to do at his request, and Ralph, send me the video you want me to do the reaction of. I'm going to do an attorney reaction video for Ralph of one of his videos. He's got some pretty cool, kind of like auditing type stuff that he does. So let me just take a look here. All right. So Truth of God. Right. Yeah. I probably was following Anton LaVey's Satanic Bibles outline. Definitely not the outline that our founding fathers intended for men who want to protect their families. Absolutely not. So let's go ahead and get into, how did the U.S. get its police forces? So this is a kind of a cool one. I'll try to get through this quick. So it would be easy for people to think that cops have been around forever, but actually, we know that John F. Kennedy created National Police Week back in the day, but actually the police force is a relatively modern invention. It's a relatively modern thing. And other than the sheriff, hey everybody. Over there. Yeah. Just boop, 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 boop. Look over here. Yeah. All right. So basically, the original cops were like night watch. All right. Kind of like the communist Chinese, where they had like the minders. Give me a bunch of ones if you know what minders are. Kind of like if you have a next door neighbor who's a leftist, kind of the same thing. Or a Karen, right? Or if you live in a condominium complex and you got like a Karen or a Ken, I guess they call them, where they constantly are kind of bugging you, trying to keep the peace. And so the towns would call these people night watch, and they were actually sort of criticized, and they didn't want to wear a badge or anything because it was kind of an embarrassment to be on night watch. And their job was to look for fellow colonists engaging in prostitution and gambling. In other words, they were like rats. So the original cop or copper, right, in the colonies, they just were considered to be rats because they were ratting out their fellow colonists, right? Like, would you really do that? Like, would you arrest your mom or dad for a DUI? Would you do that? Would you arrest your mom or dad for a DUI? So these guys would have. Now, and that is true. What Ralph is saying, the word police is derived from policy. That's all it means, is they're policy enforcers. And that's probably why Ralph hangs out with me, because although I'm a lawyer and a member of the bar, he also recognizes that I'm sympathetic to liberty. And sometimes you have to play within the system in order to make change. And that is my goal. And to make positive change, to make this world a better place for my kids. So in a way, I am selfish because I want the world to be better for my kids. But guess what? All of you guys under contract law are intended beneficiaries of my work, because you're all going to benefit from it. So you're all intended beneficiaries. And maybe unintended as well. But either way, so remember the term intended and unintended beneficiary is part of our contract lesson, because we still have a lot to learn about contracts, guys. So the bottom line is Boston started a police force in 1636. New York followed up in 1658. Philadelphia created one in 1700. So you've heard a lot of people say that cops were created to round up slaves, and that's the only reason they were created. That's actually not true. The cops were created in the slave-free states first, and that was just to try to control prostitution and gambling and vice and a lot of the murders and killings that would go on, because obviously with prostitution and gambling comes a lot of murders. And so it was designed to sort of control that. And that system, the night watch system, was not effective because a lot of the watchmen slept on duty and they didn't want to wear a badge because they were embarrassed to wear a badge. And they were supervised by constables. And that's where we get the name constable, right? So early policemen didn't want to wear badges because they had bad reputations and didn't want to be identified. Just like today, like, you see, Chile, a cop snatches a phone out of his hand and he calls him a pig. Well, a lot of people call police pigs. A lot of people hate police. Nothing's changed since this. Give me a bunch of ones if you think anything has changed since the 1600s until now with respect to how people feel about someone ratting them out. Because that's basically the law enforcement officer's job, is to rat people out. Now, eventually the localities tried to pull off compulsory service, but if you were rich enough or paid someone off, you could get out of it, even if you were a criminal. So that was a problem. So as the nation grew, the different regions started developing different policing systems. Okay. So in cities, as they became urbanized, the night watch system became useless. And so they created the first municipal police department in 1838 in Boston. Again, Boston is a slave-free state. So you guys follow me so far? Boston's slave-free. The first police were not created to round up slaves. That is a misconception. Now, Boston was a large shipping and commercial center. And so they needed to hire people to protect property, to protect goods, right? To protect the policy, right? That's what that was all about. So ultimately, the merchants came up with a way to save money by transferring the cost of maintaining the police force to citizens, because they had their own private forces for the collective good. See, that collective good, that's what they always do. They always want to sell you their collective good bullshit. So in the South, however, economics is what drove the creation of the police, not protection of shipping, and ultimately was the preservation of the slavery system. So in that regard, other people who say that the police force was written to make sure slavery and the slaves could be rounded up who were escaped, that is true. In the South, that's what the police were created for. Well, partly created for. And they were called slave patrols. And they were created in 1704. So I guess if you want to date it, 1704, and then you date Boston at the 1800s, 1838, yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe they have a point. Maybe the very first police forces were created to round up slaves. Hey, look, maybe I'm wrong, guys. I've been proven wrong before. Now, ultimately, Irish and Italians became cops, and there's a bunch of cool stuff in this article. I don't want to get too much more into it. We don't have a whole lot of time. We've already spent almost an hour. So hopefully you guys got a better understanding and a better idea of what's going on with the police. You got sheriffs, you got state police, you got municipal police. Municipal police are responsible for the municipality and enforcement of the policy thereof. They have no duty to protect individuals as a general rule, just like sheriffs. However, sheriffs are elected officials. And if sheriffs don't protect the people that they're charged to protect, they'll get thrown out. Sheriffs also have historic duties that go beyond the traditional municipal police law enforcement duties. Their job had been interpreted to protect people from the abuses of the king under the Magna Carta. So there's a lot more to being a sheriff. And the good thing is about sheriffs, like sovereigns, for example, if you're in a city like in a county in Montana, for example, where they have a law and order sheriff who supports natural law, they're less likely to harass sovereigns and people who want to be left alone. So it's your elected officials, really, at the end of the day, they're going to decide what type of power the sheriff projects. So if you want to have these parallel systems that I keep telling you guys about, start with your sheriff. And you might want to move to a faraway place that doesn't have a lot of people and get that sheriff that you want and then move forward. Like if I was Chile, I would be trying to be the sheriff before I'd be trying to be the governor. But I understand he doesn't like police. However, I have a different philosophy. I believe that you can change systems from within and that you shouldn't throw things away just because there's a few bad broken parts. I think there's a way to organize and bring people together for a greater purpose. Even if they were a cop or they were a prison guard or they're even a cop now, even if they're a felon, somebody who's served hard time, I don't care. If we can make them part of our parallel system, that means that we will all benefit as a family, as God's family, as God's children. And that's what I would like to see. So give me a bunch of ones if you think that way. By the way, Dr. Donna Walter, so Dr. Donna Walter says that the sheriff is the highest position in the nation. And I think that historically and as a matter of common law and all that, I think you're absolutely right. The problem is we have the administrative state who has been brainwashed in the academic Marxist run institutions to believe that natural law theory are a bunch of whack jobs and they are Leviathanics. These are people who support the Hobbesian philosophy of a overpowering, gigantic, centralized control of every aspect of your life. And that's just the way it is. Oh, check it out, Ralph. Or grow a set of balls and run for sheriff yourself. So Ralph's calling me out right now to run for sheriff, and that's kind of motivating me. Do you guys really think that I would make a good sheriff? I mean, I don't think so. I think I would let everybody off. Sheriff's department wouldn't make any money. How would we raise revenue? I'd just be going after the killers. I'd be like, wait a minute. You arrested that guy because you tried to take his gun from him? You're fired. I'd be like, my whole police department would be fired. Just be a terrible thing. Now, BZ says I should run for judge. Maybe I could. I know in Nevada, I don't think you have to be a member of the bar to run for judge. But now I've got all you guys telling me I need to take the Nevada bar, which I don't want to do because it's going to take about 6 months of my time, which is about, I would need to raise several $100,000 to make up for the loss in time that I would have to spend because I will have to get an office supervisor to help supervise my guys. I mean, it's not that easy, guys. I'm not young anymore. I went from from going to court every day to being a manager and a litigator, but I do tend to agree. I wouldn't mind getting my Nevada bar card. We'll talk about it more, Ralph and you other guys. And BZ Watchdog wants me to take Zimmerman's position. I don't know. Does anybody have any questions for me about the historic duties of sheriffs or regular city cops? Are you guys learning anything from these shows? Because if you're not learning anything, if you're not getting anything out of it, I need to know because I don't want to spend all this time unless people are actually getting an education. I just don't see anybody providing anything on the internet that comes close to the stuff that I provide. I really get into the deep minutia of what makes America a great place and what made us so amazing to the world. Because we live in the best place on earth. We just need to get rid of all these scumbags who have basically infiltrated our government agencies and turned them into like Marxist training institutions. That's all. Yeah, Diesel, the sheriff contracted out, I guess, our rights. Yeah, that's probably true. Now, by the way, I want to thank the moderators. I haven't seen anybody causing trouble in the sidebar. I still pray someday that misconstitutional rights will rejoin us. I originally, I just wanted to let everybody have their say. And then I realized, oh my gosh, these people are all a bunch of trolls. And you know what they say? Some people learn by doing and some people learn from another person's example. I've never learned from anyone else's example. I learned from going into the maelstrom and facing the battle. And that's how I learn. And if I'm humbled, I'll always make sure to tell the people who warned me in advance, you were right. Because I'm not one of these narcissistic guys who just has to be right all the time. You get way more in this life by exercising a reasonable degree of humility. Don't you agree? All right. So, well, Elric says the problem with the USA isn't Marxism, it's greed. Well, I disagree. I think that Marxism is greed. Marxism is absolutely greed, but we can tell by his name he's probably like Swedish, right? And if that's the case, his country has been overrun by Muslim fundamentalists, so he really doesn't have a place to speak. Now, Jessica Kyrie, if you provide an education and usable, that's what matters. And I agree. That's why I'm not really a big fan of the reaction videos and all that. I mean, they're cool, but I'll do the videos because I know that's what you guys like, but I like to teach. So if he's trying to be Thor, I like to teach people things that nobody has ever taught them and things that they don't know. And that's why I try to bring on people like Brett Pike and Max, the outraged teen. And so you get a better idea. Like a lot of people didn't even know that the American public education system was imported from Prussia, and it was used as a tool to brainwash people, to make them more compliant and more ready to do the bidding of the state. But see, our founding fathers never wanted that. They wanted the state to be bound by the chains of the Constitution and for individuals to be the ones who had the rights and the say. So I just like to teach people that way. Now, if anybody doesn't have anything to say, I guess I'll get ready to close out the show. Now, one thing that I would like to ask yes, Elric, close thy mouth, 9. Brick, you are so funny, bro. So, anyways, I'm really grateful that everybody showed up today, but I would like it if you guys would keep on throwing me requests for different types of topics or even reaction videos that you'd like me to review. Oh my gosh, one more. Ralph Riley, that's the problem with our country is ignorance. Well, absolutely. I mean, the whole idea behind the public education system was to create a nation of mindless workers and zombies. And now you've got like the rainbow flag mafia, trying to secretly transition your children. It's just become this crazy. Give me a bunch of ones if you think it's become a crazy Luciferian weird fest. Like when you go to some of these public schools, it's like going to a gay pride festival. Do you really want your kids going to a place like that? I mean, when I was growing up, our teachers taught us reading, writing, and arithmetic. The teacher would have a picture of his wife, or she'd have a picture of her husband on the desk, and we would call them Mr. and Mrs. And that was it. There was no pledging allegiance to some rainbow flag or all this stuff, sharing bathrooms with girls. None of that was going on. And I don't think that I turned out that bad. I don't know. You guys all seem like you're doing okay. So I don't know. I'm just kind of confused. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, that's right. The good book says my people will fall due to lack of knowledge. That is true. And I think in Romans 6:12, it says those. Whoop, I just lost my sound for a minute. But I think in Romans 6:12, it says those who profess themselves to be wise became fools. And is that, give me, if you know, put it in the comments. Is that Romans 6:12? I'm pretty good at memorizing. I used to have a total photographic memory. I mean, I could remember case law like that. As I'm getting older and suffered a couple of blows to the head, it's not quite what it was, but I still think I'm faster than most when it comes to intellectual battle. Look at this. Brett Ray just gifted 10 Michael Ehline memberships. Are you freaking kidding me, Brett? I really do appreciate that. I'm going to tell my kids. That is super cool. You know, and look, I got to tell you guys, I've had a lot of success as a lawyer and made a ton of money, but this is very rewarding to me to be able to put out my feelings and my thoughts about America and have you guys, even if it's $2, I don't care. It's just the whole thought that you guys actually appreciate what I have to say. And that means a lot to me because look, you're talking to someone who's had multiple small businesses, you know, made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, slept on park benches, became a lawyer without a law degree, without any undergrad, and then ultimately got a JD after I was already a practicing attorney. And you're talking like if you guys are depressed, if you guys have had shitty things happen in your life, remember the Mike Ehline story and call me. Don't do something stupid if you're in a dark place. Just reach out to me. I've been to that same dark place many, many times. And I'm telling you right now, you have to have goals and you just have to achieve them. And you have to surround yourself with people who believe in you. And so having you guys around me when I'm working 18, 19 hours a day, I can't even get out to grab a hamburger because I'm so busy, so worried about my wife and kids, knowing that if something happens to me, there won't be anybody there to look after them. And I just want you guys to always remember me and what I have to say and try and adopt the positive things about me and what I'm telling you into your life if you're depressed, because that's the way that you'll have a happy life. You always have to have a cause bigger than yourself that you're fighting for in life. If you're just living for yourself, you're going to be a miserable person. Don't just chase likes and shares and followers or whatever, unless it's spiritual for a spiritual reason, and then it's worth it. That's what I have to say. And put it in the comments if you disagree or if you agree. And again, thanks a lot, Brett. I really do appreciate that. Thanks again. Thanks again, Ralph. Well, I barely graduated high school too. So my story, and I'll just share this. And thanks again, Ralph, for the $2, man. That's freaking cool, man. I really do appreciate it. So my story is that I was smaller than the other kids, but my parents had me in judo since I was like 6. And so the bullies would pick on me and then I would throw them and then get kicked out of school for fighting, even though they were bigger than me, because when you drop a big guy on their head and you fracture their skull, you get kicked out of school. So I begged my dad to just let me stay out of regular school because they'd put me into some crummy school where all the people who would get in trouble for fighting went, called Richland. And I think that was like in the city of Orange, Richland High School. If you're from Orange, you'll know who it is. You'll know where, because they, like 16-year-olds were out smoking cigarettes, which I did not do, by the way. Look, I just was always an angry kid, Ralph, because my dad was a Marine. He was pretty rough on me, pretty physically rough as well. And I just hated school. I hated it that my parents were divorced. I was miserable that they weren't married. That's why I vowed if I ever did get married, I would never leave my wife. And so that's kind of what happened with me, Ralph. And so I got a full-time job as a painter's apprentice at 16, and I moved out of the house. And my dad helped me buy a pickup truck, and I got a full-time job as a painter's apprentice, and I went to school at night at independent study. And that's the first time I got pulled over by a cop. It was a deputy sheriff who, because I was blowing through a stop sign to get to school because I wanted to get my school certificate so I could join the Marines. That was all I wanted to do. And so I was crying and I said, "Sir, if you give me this ticket, the commanding general is not going to let me in." Because back then the Marine Corps was scrutinizing recruits big time because they were downsizing. So this guy said, "Well, I was a Marine too." And that's when I learned that most of the sheriff's deputies in Orange County were Marines. And he said, "Well, I was a Marine too. And since you're showing me a sense of honor and dignity and that you're like, you don't even live at home and you're out working at 16, you're blowing me away, son." And he gave me his phone number and he said, "Call me if you ever have any problems with your recruiter." And he let me off, didn't give me a ticket. So that's my story. And then ultimately, Ralph, I was able to get a high school diploma from Canyon High School, even though I didn't go to Canyon High School because I got kicked out of Canyon High School. But for the last month, they gave me the diploma. Somehow or another, they worked a deal, and I was on a bus to MEPS the day after I graduated from high school. And that's my story. That's what really happened. So I'm with you, Ralph. And having an academic degree doesn't matter. Going to college, that's just a big joke. That's a sideshow. What matters is what's here, and are you a reliable person? I go out of my way to hire EAS Marines over someone with a college degree or a high school degree or whatever with my firm, because I know that Marines have that basic instinct and that training and that knowledge of being able to follow instructions and take personal initiative. So Ralph, I'm with you there. And I think based on your demeanor that you have that same mentality, that do or die mentality, which I appreciate. Now, Chevy, thank you so much. Again, man, you guys are killing me with these donations. Gloria, I appreciate you saying that I'm doing a wonderful job. I'm just trying to help step in because I know the Chili's not around and you guys all loved watching this show. And I have a good time doing these events. You know, I didn't come on last night, I don't think, but I do what I can. Now, let's take a look here. Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. I'm so happy that Brick Jonesy came back. He's been gone, I guess, with family. So one of the things that I like about Team MPE, which I call it Team MPE for Michael Paul Ehline, is that although pretty much none of us agree on everything in this group, 40 or 50 guys, solid and girls that I have in this group, none of us agree on pretty much anything except for a few things that really matter. Like we agree on the right of self-defense. We agree that our rights came from an all-powerful creator. But I think beyond that, we don't agree on much more than that, you know. But because we agree on those core things, that naturally means that we believe you're supposed to be reliable. That means you show up early, not late. That naturally believes that boys don't share the girls' restroom, like basic things like that. We get it. And that's why I love having you guys. I don't have to prove anything or make up anything or try to placate you or try to kiss your butt because we're all on the same page. Oh, let's take a look here. Hey, Ralph says he's currently 5-0 as an attorney. Well, I believe that, Ralph, but I'll be honest with you. I think also your personality and your demeanor and your command presence probably has helped you more than you can imagine in your dealings with law enforcement and with the court system. But we can talk anytime, brother. You're a paid member. You can call me whenever the hell you want, brother. If I'm not in court, I'll take your call. You can talk about it anytime. Now, Diesel says when Chili gets out, don't slow down and keep doing your own stuff. Well, look, guys, I do need some help. I'm getting a little overwhelmed trying to run my firm and do this. So if anybody has any ideas to help me make these lives into shorts and help my kids, that would be really nice. And then if anybody can also help me find a way to market my my book on how I became a lawyer with no undergrad or law degree, because what I'm trying to do is turn this this project over to my kids, right? To where they can learn how to make a little mini business, like how to become a lawyer with no. Anyways, so but I'm not able to get that thing to work. I tried to get it on PayPal. I couldn't get the link to work. There's some other websites, but they want to charge you all this money to sell your products. Like, why? Like, why can't I just put a link, tie it to my PayPal account, and then I'll just give all my members like a 50% off or whatever the book? Like, why is that so hard? Anyways, look at this, Brett Ray, new member. Yes, I love it, Brett. I love Brett's a new member. Thank you for becoming a new member. So DeWad had a CCW hearing today. Your attorney ate him for breakfast. Oh my God, that is so cool, dude. That is awesome. I met my attorney through Alan Beck. DeWood, that is really cool. Okay, so guys, check it out. So Alan Beck, in my opinion, is the man. All right. He works with my firm and he's also a Marine. So naturally, I want him to be part of Team MPE. Alan Beck helped Dawood get a lawyer, and apparently Dawood won his CCW appeal. Give me a bunch of freaking ones for Dawood, guys. That's badass. That is badass. Look, Alan Beck is an amazing guy. You guys should be supporting him. You should be pushing him to get his own channel going. I mean, this guy, to me, he is salt of the earth, and I have utmost respect for him. Alan Beck is the guy who introduced me to Dick Heller. And Dick Heller and I subsequently became very close friends, and he stayed with me last time he was at one of these gun shows, and he knows my family, my kids, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to do with social media, guys. I'm not just trying to like get a bunch of shares and likes, I'm trying to build relationships. Like every single one of you guys in this sidebar, we're friends now. And if you have got a problem, I'm going to help you. And that's how it works, because you guys believe in natural law, and you believe in God and country. And those are the kind of people that I want in my life. Give me a bunch of ones if you want people in your life who think like me. Now, yeah, what a herd. What a herd. That's right. Let's OTVO is now the head censorship master. No, he's the head moderator of Team MPE. So that's one thing I also want to share with you guys is I do listen to people. When someone says, hey man, you need to reevaluate your shit, you need to get the mod going, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm not one of these guys who can say, oh, F you, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, I know what I'm doing. Guys, I know a lot, but one thing I know more than anything is that when someone's coming along and they're offering to support you in your dream to make this country a better place, you don't shoot them down. You find a way to build them up. And that's what I want you all to do. Yeah. Hoorah. Yeah. So, I wish I wasn't too much trouble, but so Ray, if you have any problems, you can reach out. Yeah. Alan Beck. Yeah. Hey, thanks, BZ Watchdog. So I'm going to make sure that Alan sees this video. I'm going to, as soon as we're done with the show, I'm going to reach out to him. So Alan made some amazing headway with fixed blade and folding knife laws and even beyond that, just fixed weapon laws in Hawaii. And I really want to have him come on to tell his side about what happened. So I'll try to have him come on tomorrow, but by him seeing that Dawood was able to get his Second Amendment rights restored, I'm pretty sure he's going to want to come on. So that's one thing about Alan and I. We're kind of like the Mormons or the Jehovah's Witnesses, like knock, knock, knock. Sir, can we share a story with you about our Lord and Savior, Chesty Puller, who made it possible for you to keep and bear arms? That's kind of how we are. So we just love preaching the power of self-defense and protecting our women and our kinfolk, right? That's what we do. We protect our people, the American people, because we're not a race. We're a people. All right. So let's take a look. Alan Beck. Yeah. Thanks, Chevy. Sometimes I just think you guys are all the same person just playing with me. So anyways, Florida or whatever, Beck. Yeah. Hey, what's it going to take to get the Beck Yeah guy to come on our show? That would be super fun. I would love that. All right, guys. So does anybody have any other questions? Because I want to start winding it down. I promised my daughter I would take her to P.F. Chang for dinner. And I'm already like 20 minutes over. Oh, man. Yeah, that's for sure. Thanks, Dawood. I'm going to tell him. Hey, I'm super happy that all you guys are joining me in these chats. And what I like about it is it's like you guys are actually here because you care about your country. And so that makes me super proud. Even though it's not 20 million people, I can see that you guys all love America. And that really motivates the hell out of me. Look at this, another one. Oh, yeah, BZ Watchdog. Make sure to check out tapssecurityproducts.com. They sell all kinds of those knives and self-defense products. So if I'm not mistaken, BZ is also a pro Second Amendment guy, and this is a company that he supports. So look, if any of you guys have a company that you want me to support or give a shout out, I won't give him an official endorsement until I know him, but if anybody supports people or whatever, they want to put something up on the chat, I have no problem supporting fellow patriots. To get an endorsement, it's going to take a lot more. I'm going to have a relationship, but I trust BZ's judgment to know that these are good products. And once I get a chance to look at him, I'll give him an official endorsement. But for now, based on what he's saying, it sounds like there's somebody you should like and subscribe to and take a look at. Now, yeah, Brett, that's funny. I saw that too. Is that the Beck? Yeah, when he played the guy with all the makeup. That man, the guy is so funny. Oh, it's BZ's LLC. So BZ's got a LLC that sells knives. That's cool. All right, so Dawood Beck. I love it. So I'm gonna make sure as soon as I get off the show to give him a call, guys. All right. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I want to go ahead and shut it down for tonight. I'm fried, guys. I've been up since 03. I did a motion for summary judgment, an opposition to a motion for summary judgment. I got all the objections done. I've got my team uploading everything as PDFs right now to file, and it's just one of those days. So if you don't have any other questions, by your leave, I'd like to go and take my daughter to get some food. All right, it looks good. So, all right. So everybody, I really appreciate you guys showing up. Somebody please send me a reaction video that you want me to do this week, and make sure it's related to contract law. I did one about a car dealership the other day because I was trying to show you contract law. So if you have something like a landlord-tenant contract issue or a video that shows some kind of a contract dispute, that's the kind of stuff that I want to do, because what I'm trying to teach you guys is how to think like a lawyer. So the last video we did was about, offer, acceptance, consideration, potential defenses under the contract. So we'll just keep on going. We talked about fraud, like how these car dealerships may be involved in fraud. Take a look at that video that I did last time if you have questions or anything like that. But go ahead and send me. And that is true. Alan Beck got the Billy Club ban overturned in California and the butterfly knife overturned in Hawaii. He is the GOAT. And we need permitless carry in California. That's not going to happen in communist California with scumbags like Gavin Newsom in charge. That's not going to happen. But at least we have people like me and Alan constantly fighting to make sure that our families are protected as they flood our country with criminals and people from third world countries who we don't even know who they are. And at the same time, they want to take away our guns. They can go and F themselves. Give me a bunch of ones if you think Gavin Newsom should go F himself. Now, that being said, truth of God, later Gator, everybody, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And with that being said, Semper Fi, do or die.